Do this way. Nina Bird, who is also in our chat and in our Discord, sent us a question about Shadowrun 5 and God, which is the Grid Overwatch Division. She says, most of my Shadowrun experience has been in 3rd and 4th edition, learning more about 5th edition now, and the rules for the Grid Overwatch Division seem rather cumbersome. I'm wondering if y'all had any tips or thoughts on that. So a little bit of background for those who don't know, the Grid Overwatch Division is basically like this entity that watches over the matrix. Not like it's a corporate entity. I think it lives on Zurich Orbital, right? That like watches over the matrix.
There's just a whole bunch of security decker types. They're like the FBI.
Right. And then like as you hack in Shadowrun 5th edition, you start racking up an Overwatch score. And then that score, once it hits 40, then God descends and like Thor shots you out of the matrix. That's my understanding. How accurate was that, Cliff?
Pretty close. I mean, sometimes it does involve a literal Thor shot in the case of certain technomancers who let their super high level sprites run rampant until they get converged on. But yeah, when that happens, it's called convergence. As you do illegal actions in the matrix, all the hits against you from the opposed tests add up and build up into that Grid Overwatch score, the God score. And if that hits 40, that's bad news. Essentially, the corps get to shut you down. They know exactly where you are, and you're dumped from the matrix. You have dump shock. If you're a technomancer, that means you're also taking a bunch of stun damage. And it's pretty bad news. It means you need to get a move on right away. And even if you do, I figure there's a whole bunch of deckers working for the Grid Overwatch Division who don't have to ask permission to access anything attached to the matrix. So they go into any sensors, any logs, whatever, that immediately start looking for you in the situation that you're in and try to hunt you down and do nasty things to you. Yeah. So if you're ever converged on, get the hell away. But yeah, as far as it being cumbersome, I make it easy. It's a little confusing about what happens when you're in a host versus out in the matrix at large. But I usually just sort of shorthand it down to all the illegal actions add up, and if they get to 40, there's convergence. And I don't really bother making a distinction between whether you're in a host or not. I just kind of hand wave that into running it easier. The one thing I do play in with is that if you get converged on but you're in a host, it doesn't actually kick in until you jack out. So technically within a host, you're safe from God. But if you do max it out within the host, then the host gets marks on you and knows where you are. So they don't get that automatic kick you out of the matrix thing, but they do get 3 marks on you and know what you're up to. So that's pretty bad news for you if you stick around. It usually doesn't come to play because most deckers keep a program running called Baby Monitor. And when that Overwatch score gets anywhere near 40, you just reboot your deck, which means you have to go start over with your hacks, and your ongoing stuff has to start over. But it's way better than what happens when God shows up.
Yep. So, if you question the 40 to get to the 40, how does that work? It's just basically like it's a number of hits, right?
That every 15 minutes that you're on the matrix, after your first attack or sleaze action, your Overwatch score increases by 2d6. Those rolls are, and your total Overwatch score should be theoretically kept secret by the game master. But yeah, you're aiming towards 40.
And now as to answer your question, sorry, now I lost my train of thought. Damn it. Say again what you were asking.
How the score goes up and how you track it.
Every illegal action is an action that is limited by either attack or sleaze, and all of those are going to be at a pose test. So the host or the device owner or somebody's going to be rolling dice against you. So whether or not you're successful in those, even if you're beating those opposing hits with all of your rolls, every single hit that is rolled against you in all of those opposed tests, that adds 1 to your Overwatch score. So that's how it adds up, doing the illegal actions. And then, as Opti said, once you start doing illegal stuff, God starts looking for you. And if you start lingering around too much, that time adds up.
If you want something that is as condensed as possible, and for 5th edition, there is a book called Kill Code, and page 28 through 30, but it's only about a page worth of information, sort of gives you as condensed a version of God and how to use it as I've seen anywhere else in 5th edition. So if that helps, Kill Code is a good place to go.
Yeah.
In a recent game session I ran, I had someone who was converged on as a technomancer for the first time, and it was a really fun and interesting sequence of events that things escalated really fast. They always seem to when convergence happens.
Yeah. But
Nina,
if you're new to 5th edition and want to get a handle on the Matrix better, I really suggest Kill Code over trying to wrap your head around it any other way, because Kill Code was designed to make the Matrix accessible. So that's where I'd start.
Agreed. It did a great job. Yes, and Nina in chat asked if you use sleaze to check your messages, then it starts right away. And then we clarifying already in chat that checking messages is not an illegal action, so it wouldn't do anything. Because everything has attack or sleaze as a limit, or one of the other Matrix attributes. But
if you use sleaze, if you use like a hack on the fly to check somebody else's messages that you don't normally have access to, then it starts. But normally doing something that would be just normal computer operation, that's typically like a data processing rather than a sleaze action.
Now, as far as it being like cumbersome, I would agree, because now you have to keep in mind that you have to track, like on a piece of paper, a number going from 1 to 40. You have to kind of estimate how long 15 minutes is, because nobody's actually tracking 15, like by round 15 minutes in the Matrix. Nobody would ever get to that point. So you're narratively deciding how long this person has been in the Matrix. And
I think it normally comes into play
56.
when you're snooping or tailing somebody over the course of, say, you know it's going to be a couple hours. Well, you kind of have to jack out and jack back in and hack them every now and again. But there is a program called Fly on the Wall that lets you slow down that time-specific effect.
Yeah,
I think treating the Matrix as if it's real life helps you to get an idea, right? Like if you want to know if somebody's going to see you in the Matrix, just think about how somebody sees you outside, right? Usually like GM calls, right? Or like, if somebody would make a perception test to see your character sneaking, into a building, just think that same exact way on the Matrix. Like most real world things have a Matrix mirrored version, right? So don't try to overthink like what's different about the Matrix. Try to make things as similar as possible to the real world, and then just use the Matrix rules to fill in any gaps.
Here's another thing I could throw out there. You can just ignore the God score rules completely, because more often than not, when I see a Decker get into trouble, it's not because things got converged on, because the Overwatch score went up. It's because they failed a sleaze or attack action, and they got spotted that way. Or they're running silent, and I make an occasional... Every now and again, I figure, hey, there's security spiders in there looking for stuff. So every now and again, I'll have them have to make a logic plus sleaze roll opposed by a matrix perception test. That's a dice pool I just make up for the security spider. So I think those are much more interesting narrative things about whether or not you're going to succeed or fail than this sort of more abstracted Overwatch score. And I don't think you lose anything important from the game, other than maybe your Decker's getting to free up that baby monitor program slot by just not bothering to track it.
Another possible tip is to just, since the baby monitor program is so cheap, you could just say it runs by default on a cyberdeck. It doesn't take up a program slot, and then let the Decker handle it, because they can do the math. You don't have to, and then they can just keep track of it so that they don't get converged on unless they really, really want to. So it's another option as well.
We hope that helps. That's a lot of information, but I hope it helps. This is certainly lots of ink has been spilled and lots of discussion has been had about the complicated nature of the Matrix rules in Shadowrun. So you're in good company. Don't let it stop you from running and playing.
Yeah, if you get bogged down by all of that stuff, then you'll never actually get to the meat and potatoes of where the fun is, which is all of the stories and the mishaps that can occur.